Hey, Worsties. Hope that you're having a happy holiday. We are as well, which is why we've given you a special treat. And instead of our usual episode, we wanted to bring back a blast from the past. Our episode that we did with Kelly, our podcast twins over at Boobies and Noobies. So we actually opened her special event, Boobsmas, back in December of 2019 by reviewing the romance novel Stocking Stuffers. It's by Erin McClellan, and it features lots of vibrators, from what I remember.
Yes.
It features lots of sex positive, lots of fun, and lots of laughs. I remember having fun recording this episode. So, yeah, we hope that you enjoy it and hope that you check it out. If you love it, we definitely encourage you to go over and subscribe to Boobies and Noobies as well.
Yeah, Kelly is amazing. She has been with us on this podcast ride since the beginning.
Yeah.
She is also a romance author. I actually have one of her romance books. So definitely go support her. She has a new book, a new Christmas spicy novella that has just come out called Santa Monica Baby. And I believe that that is available now. So I would suggest if you're interested in checking out her books or the podcast or just following Kelly to see what she's up to, I would follow her Instagram at author Kelly Ray. That's author Kellyrey on Instagram. And she has a link tree that has links to absolutely everything that you can find there. If you are a romance reader, you will absolutely love Kelly's books. No one knows romance like her.
Yeah, and all the links will be in the show notes as well. We'll also be back with a regular schedule episode on the 1st of 2025. So we appreciate taking a little bit of a break during the holidays, but we will be back with you next week. But for now, you guys enjoy the show. Cheers.
You're listening to Boobies and Noobies, brought to you by the Frolic Podcast Network. Everybody, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Boobies and Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today's romance review marks the first episode in Boobies and Noobies' second annual holiday special, The 12 Days of Boobsmas. Happy Boobsmas, everybody! This December, we're celebrating winter berries, holiday-themed prostate massagers, and even sex by the fire at night. With 12 holiday-themed romance novellas, 12 mini-pods, and 12 giveaways. Join us December 1st through 23rd for all the festive fun. Could there be a better way to spend your holidays hiding from your in-laws? I think not. Joining me today for the first day of Boobsmas is one of my favorite podcasts. These gals never fail to crack me up, and somehow I always end up feeling okay about my dating life after listening. It's Cassie, Keegan, and Christina from My Worst Date.
Hey.
Hey. Can you each introduce yourself so everyone can put a voice to the name?
For sure. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
And I'm Christina.
Hello.
Just like you introduce yourselves on the podcast.
Exactly.
Sort of. Yours seemed much more organized than how we usually do it.
We could never in a million years pull off an intro like that, like literally ever.
We're going to need you to come every week and actually intro us.
It's like a game, though. When I listen to My Worst Date, I'm like, okay, how long are they going to go before they do the intro, and who gets introduced last? That's like always a big question.
Yeah, yeah, it's just we just go with the flow. One time I do think we went with the flow all the way through the episode.
We did. I think we went through the entire episode without
doing
introducing ourselves, which so we're soups profesh, very professional on this here podcast.
Well, I love that when you do introduce yourselves, I feel like there were a couple times where you did it so early in the episode that you even surprised yourself yourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, I always get a little bit grumpy if it's too early. Like if we start the episode off with an introduction, I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like it.
And the fans have spoken too. We've gotten feedback when we did that one episode where we introduced ourselves early on. They're like, no,
Something's wrong here.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Something's out of place. Well, it's great because every episode you start and I'm always like, do they know that they're recording? Like, did somebody
It's
press
like
record and nobody
mid-conversation.
knows?
Christina has done that 100% to us.
Great. I love it because then I feel like I'm picking up all these like conversations that you all probably have on and off the air anyway.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So it's like I'm in, your recording room with you, which I am right now.
Currently you are.
Yeah. And it is cute. So thank you for inviting me. Now, if you're a longtime Boobies and Noobies listener, you will remember that My Worst Date has guested on the show before. Do you ladies remember what you read?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we do.
I can't burn it out of my brain cells.
I just remember dirigibles.
Yep.
And
It was very
untying.
steampunky.
Do you remember the gloves? Do you remember taking off the gloves?
So many
Taking
buttons.
gloves?
So many buttons. I recall a lot of horseback riding and also vampires and ghosts and werewolves.
Yeah.
and a
Wasn't
Scottish
expecting that.
accent.
There was a lot.
That's right.
happening.
It was a very thick accent.
Very
yeah,
thick
it was
accent.
Poison or Protect.
Yes.
A delightfully deadly novella by Gail Carriger. And it wasn't our fave.
It wasn't my
It's not my favorite. It wasn't our favorite.
I think that we discussed that the writing was very good. And if you were into that genre, it'd be for you. And I think that's what it all boils down to. We talk about this a lot because it's like, finding the right book for somebody. Like I told you earlier today, Kelly, I am such a fan of Boobies Noobies. I listen all the time. And every time I listen, I may not pick up the book that you're talking about because it might not be in my wheelhouse of the type of thing that I love.
Sure.
But I do end up going and buying a book. Like I always
yay.
end up going and getting a book because it gets me in the mood to read a romance. And I love that.
In fact, you just signed up for Kindle Unlimited so that
I
you
did.
can get as many romance novels as you
Welcome
want.
to the dark side.
I know. If only, I wish we had a kickback for that.
I mean, honestly, we should just bleep that right out until you get sponsored by them.
That's
truly.
true. That's
yeah.
true. What unlimited? Psh.
Don't give them freebies.
And I was the newbie last time. I hadn't read like a bunch of romance novels, but I will say she's passed me a few that I'm like,
Spicy.
hey.
Oh, good.
Very
Well, and
spicy.
it's actually Kelly's fault to begin with because Kelly got me on board with Claire Kingsley
Yes.
and I passed you,
Something about Mrs. Right.
Fake
Was
Miss
it
Right.
Faking Ms. Right.
Yeah.
Spice.
Loved it, right?
Loved
Oh gosh,
it.
I could talk. I could just do a podcast about Claire Kingsley romance novels,
Seriously.
and that'd be enough.
And I
Yeah.
could join you.
It was really enjoyable. It was just the right amount of like sex and heat. It was written really well. It was very fast paced. It wasn't like overly cheesy or
Yeah.
whatever. And the will they, won't they was great. I such a fan of that.
Well, I just finished Always Will by her, and I think you'd like that as well because I as well am in the my favorite genre of romance is the will they won't they.
Me too.
Okay.
They're like
Me
friends
too.
to lovers, like oh, I don't know if it's gonna it's gonna happen, but you can suspend disbelief and be like they're enemies to lovers or friends to lovers, and you're like, oh, is this gonna turn? Because it builds that heat.
Yeah.
That anticipation.
Yeah.
For the second day of Boobsmas, we're reading a romance that's a neighbors to lovers story.
Ooh.
So,
Oh,
yeah, that should be a good one too. And it's Hanukkah. It's about Hanukkah.
That's a goddamn gamble, though. I'll tell you that. Like a
Yeah.
neighbors to lovers story. I'm like, are you about to up and move? Because like,
Right.
if shit goes south,
So
you got to change your whole life.
that's basically the entire tension point of the book. Is
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, should we do this? Because if this fails, like,
I gotta see you
live
every
next
day,
door.
like
Yeah.
mowing your lawn and shit. Like, no.
Shooting daggers.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh gosh. Can you guys give everybody just sort of a rundown of what goes on My Worst Date?
Well, I think that what Keegan just said is the exact point of our podcast, which is that we have such a cynical taste on dating that because what we do is we share people's worst dates.
Cynical but honest.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not it's cynical, but more than that, it's cautious, right? Like, so when I hear like, oh, we're neighbors and we might like start fucking, I'm like, oh, maybe
Red flag.
think about
Red flag,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe just think about it for like a little while.
Yeah,
Just
because
make sure.
definitely gotten that story.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
more than one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we tell bad dating stories on our podcast. Our listeners write into us their worst dating experiences, and we have gotten some pretty horifying ones.
Doozies.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I've like I said, I mean, I feel so much better about myself
Absolutely.
every time I listen. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I feel so much compassion and pain for everyone that submitted these stories. Like, they're amazing. I mean, I love that they submit these stories, and that I feel like it's cathartic.
I think it absolutely is. Yes, I think it is.
I mean, I'm on the dating scene and you're on the dating scene, and it is absolutely cathartic, because it's like, what else are you going to do? Are you going to cry about it? Or it's so much better to like laugh about it with friends. It just makes the experience that much more.
Yeah.
And I think with any bad experience, oftentimes you're left wondering, like, is it me? Like, is it just
what
me?
did I do?
Is it just happening to me? And what's so great about the podcast is like, no, it's not just you. It's everybody. It's a hellscape out there. Like
garbage fires left and
honestly,
right.
And it kind of fills that same place for me as like watching an episode of Hoarders, where I'm like, actually, my house is not bad.
Right,
like I was sitting here being like, oh, I need to clean. I need to like have had this pile of laundry I've needed to fold for 2 days. And then I'm like, I watch an episode of that and I'm like, actually, I'm fine.
I'm okay.
It's actually fine.
For me, it's intervention.
Okay,
like, I'm not eating a couch. Like, things are going to be okay.
Yes.
I'm not eating a couch.
Have you not seen that one?
Oh,
No.
that's my strange
it's
addiction.
My strange addiction.
Okay,
yeah.
My like knowledge of My Strange Addiction, I think I've only seen a couple episodes, and the one I always remember was this older man and woman that had a house full of like Cabbage Patch dolls, and they had like a garage full of Cabbage Patch dolls.
Welcome to my nightmare. Yeah.
But they had their favorite, and his name was Kevin. And they would put Kevin in the stroller and push him around town and take him with them. And I'm just like, oh, Kevin.
Imagine them coming home at Christmas and you're just like, I don't know. You're like, we've got like,
They brought
you know,
Kevin.
Aunt June and Uncle Ron are coming over with Kevin, and you're like, I hate it.
Like, are we supposed to make a plate for
Yeah, should
Kevin?
we
Do
just-
we seat him at the kids'
What do
table?
we do?
Should
It's like Lars and the Real Girl. You're like, do
Yeah.
we act like this is normal?
right?
Do we respond to Kevin?
But I think my one of my favorite bits or not bits, but sections of the podcast that we end everything with a crazy in love.
Love
It's like
those.
a little bit of true crime. It's like what happens when a date or when love goes really, really, really wrong. So we've had some really fun ones.
Imagine
lately.
your ex driving from Houston to Orlando in a space diaper to confront the new girlfriend.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Also, lately, you've been doing Crazy in Loves, but it's been for like historical figures.
Yes.
I found
Those are so fun.
really interesting.
My favorite one that I've done recently was the Oscar Kokoschka. He made the basically a sex doll.
Yes. Oh my
Out
gosh.
of like feathers.
And the pictures of it are creepy as hell.
Modeled after his ex, which can you imagine if someone did that to you? Like you break up and some guy's like, it's okay, I got a life-size version of you made out of chicken feathers. And I'm like, absolutely not.
My dream. Oh,
You
that's
you
what
thought
I'm
your
looking for.
nightmare was going
Shut
to
it
a Cabbage
down.
Patch house.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
We
gotta-
building Cabbage Patches up in here. Oh, yikes. Okay. Well, when it comes to the holidays, Boobsmas is also about discussing some of our favorite traditions, memories, yummies associated with the holiday season. Keegan is about to lose it because
I
she's
fucking love
so
Christmas
happy.
so much.
Oh my gosh. Well, Keegan, I'll start with you then. What's one of your favorite like holiday traditions?
So, okay. Because right now, while we're recording between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or it's like right before Thanksgiving. So I see a lot of Christmas trees already up. And of course, on our local radio station, they're already playing nonstop Christmas music. And I adore Christmas so much that I like to wait and deprive myself of the joy of Christmas until Thanksgiving. So while I'm cooking my Thanksgiving meal, I'll wake up in the morning and then start cooking my Thanksgiving dinner. And while I'm cooking, then I'll turn on the holiday radio station or the Pandora station. And it's that first taste of like, oh, we're going into the holidays. Here we go. And also, like, I love my house to smell like Christmas.
Same.
We were just talking about like Christmas candles. Oh my gosh.
You can never have enough.
You can never have enough of like different Christmas candle scents. I love it. I love leaving the lights on my tree at night when all the other lights are off and it's just like twinkly and sparkly and beautiful. And growing up, we always had this tradition every single year on Christmas Eve. We opened all of our gifts on Christmas Day, but on Christmas Eve, my mom we always knew what we were getting.
Oh, okay.
And it was always pajamas, so that everyone had new pajamas for pictures in the morning.
Were matching? Did everybody have the same ones?
Not usually.
Okay.
On occasion, my mom would be on a theme. So like one year we all got like plaid bottoms or whatever.
Okay.
But typically not matching, but we'd get pajamas. We would get a book. And we would get an ornament to add to the tree. So we got a new ornament every year, and then a book to, since I was a little kid, we would get books every single year to have something to do when my mom inevitably sent us to bed early so that, she could be Santa.
Right.
So
Santa needs to come while you're reading.
Yeah. So you go upstairs at like, what is it? 8 p.m. Good night. Yeah. And go read your book. So that's a tradition that we've had every year. Even out here, my mom still sends me ornaments every year. And when I'm home, of course, she gives me like all of the things. So it's just a sweet thing that I would love if I ever end up having children, and something I would want to continue doing. So I fucking love the holidays. Like I love it. I've got 2 Grinches with me. But I love it.
Well, I mean, we grew up with a lot of traditions. We wouldn't put the tree up until Christmas Eve. We would put the tree up and we would bake sugar cookies. And my parents still do that. And then when I was married, our holiday traditions were to exchange gifts on Christmas Eve. But once I got divorced and I'm out here and separated from my family and everything, it just was just something that wasn't really, I'm like, what am I going to do? Get a tree? Like,
well, what it sounds like is that you need to spend Christmas at Keegan's house.
Absolutely. Yes, that's what.
And she's got more than enough merriment.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have those Christmas movies on 24/7. She's like, I'm never coming over ever.
So yeah, it's like, and last year was actually kind of like the first Christmas like on my own, where it just felt like everybody's got their own family traditions, and I didn't want to reach out and be like, can I crash your thing? Which I'm sure like anyone would be fine with. We have a great friend group, but yeah, I was just like. I think one of the things that I decided this year was that I will be getting a Christmas tree.
Yay!
Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Now, are you going to wait until Christmas Eve like you did before?
No, I mean, I'm going to get it ahead of time. I'm going to see how much my cat destroys it.
Yes.
But I'm not going to get like a big one, but just a little one, just something to be like, you know what, like it's important to me to start my own traditions and not just like wait on someone else to provide them, but just
that's beautiful.
You know a Christmas tradition that I think you will like that I started doing with Anthony on Christmas Day? It's mulled wine. Girl, make yourself mulled wine and keep it on the stove all day. You will be so happy.
Just keep
about
throwing
Christmas.
in a few more cinnamon sticks
hell
every
yeah.
hour.
Yeah. But I did want to point out a tradition. It's not a tradition, but something that I know we will do again someday is we did do Friendsmas.
Well, you're ruining mine.
It
was going to be mine.
I'm so sorry. Take it away, Cassie. Take it away.
For it.
I know where you're going with that. I actually, like Christina, when we moved out here, our family is all back east. And I think like most of us, it's not that we can't afford it. It's just that it seems so ridiculous to fly back east during Christmas because the cost is so ridiculous. Everybody's traveling and LA's at its finest when everybody's gone.
Oh, yes. This is my favorite time of year in LA is between Thanksgiving and like New Year's.
There's no traffic.
Yes.
Oh, it's great.
It's the most
you can date
wonderful.
people that live in Highland Park.
Oh,
yes. You're like,
it's a sample of what life could be like.
It is the most wonderful time in the year. And so as we moved out here, I haven't put up a Christmas tree since having the kids at home. So my son's 22 now. And I got to be honest with you, Christmas to me was fun when you have kids because they can help you decorate and do all that stuff. I got to be honest, like it would just be me putting a tree up. That's not fun. Like to me, it just starts to feel like a chore. So the thing that we did start doing that I agree, Keegan, that may become a tradition. Maybe it won't be every year, but maybe every other year or something like that is we did a trip to Vegas. Christina's first year, my
very first holiday, my husband had left like a few weeks prior to that.
Wow.
So they
It was
we
rally.
all went to
They
To
whisked
Vegas.
you off to Vegas.
which was really fun. Like spending speaking of like
It actually made me feel festive.
yeah, and kind of like speaking of like a dead time.
Yeah.
If you go like the days before Christmas
Yeah.
to Vegas, it's like there's not as many people there at all.
It was
so
perfection.
it's great. You can kind of like roam around, you know, without feeling like you're like shoulder to
And
shoulder
you're
with
surrounded
tourists,
by
you know?
lights. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
talk about having like the holiday decorations. Like that is a street that is all lit up.
Yes. Yeah. And the Bellagio does this wonderful, they have that giant greenhouse botanical and they do this wonderful like Christmas, everything's made out of flowers and like greenery. It's
Love.
wonderful.
We had a really, and to me, that is a tradition I would continue to do every single year because
Oh, I think you should.
If I could afford it, I would,
If I could
honestly.
afford it, yeah, me too. That was fun because that to me is really what Christmas is about. It's not so much for me the trees or the cookies or the gifts or anything like that. It's just about being with family.
Right.
Yeah.
No. And I feel like when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, presents. Like, great. I love giving presents now more than ever. I love
Me
like
too.
baking for people as opposed to for myself.
Baking for
now.
people is
Like,
great.
it's so fun because you get to see that face, you know, like when they get that present or the cookies or whatever. But you can have that same feeling if you're just out with your friends in Vegas for Christmas. That sounds fabulous.
It was amazing. It was so much fun.
It's probably also the one time a year in Vegas that it's not like 105 degrees.
It was a solid 55.
Yes.
Like so it's good.
Just the way I like it. Okay, I have to say, I wanted to ask you, have you heard Lizzo's Christmas song?
No.
I'm sorry. What?
I know. Okay, so I was like, they will know this, right? But if not, they need to.
Miss this.
Because it's
Wait.
not new. That's one of the things. So, okay.
Oh.
So I read this article recently and it was about like, where's Lizzo's Christmas album? And I was like, I don't know. Where is it? Like, tell me.
Please tell me.
Yeah. And she apparently recorded a song like 5 years ago that's a Christmas song. And it's fabulous. But it's all about, she's like, I didn't really care about Christmas. I'd rather sit at home and order Chinese food and watch like bad movies. But then I met you, babe. And now we have a great Christmas. And I mean, I'm not doing it justice. I'll play it for you.
Those are the lyrics, though, right?
Yeah, just like that. Just like that. That's why I'm actually a songwriter. I don't know if you guys knew this, but
Oh my God, I'm so excited to check that out.
So precious. But yeah, I figured I was like, they need to know about this.
Yes, thank you.
We need to have more Lizzo Christmas in our lives. I'm a little upset it's just one song.
It's going into my holiday rotation for sure.
Thank you.
It's going into my Thanksgiving morning food prep.
Can anyone Christmas like Mariah Carey can Christmas?
Well,
oh,
I mean,
that's a tough call, you know?
I mean,
I've never heard that song.
She's the Christmas diva.
She
What
is the
song?
Christmas diva, even if she can't. Did you guys see her trying to perform it live, like
Yeah.
semi-recently? Oh, honey.
Did she have a few drinks in her first?
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I love how little she gives a shit at all. She's like, I'm a diva. I don't care.
She's got that like 90s music business money, man.
Oh, yeah.
And
You
people will
can't-
love her always.
Yeah.
because
It doesn't
of
matter.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't even matter.
It's literally like she basically just lays on stage and lets the really muscly, oiled up men carry her around. Like
Best.
it's the best. Yeah.
Anyway, it is called Never Felt Like Christmas by Lizzo.
Oh,
so everyone needs to check that out.
Just I'm already like giving it a chef's kiss. Like I know it's going to be amazing.
Mwah. Love it. That was my chef's kiss. I
Yeah.
like that chef kiss emoji. Like that's super cute.
Mwah.
Yeah. So anyway, today let's get down to the reading because we are going to be discussing Stocking Stuffers by Erin McClellan. Okay, I know it's called Stocking Stuffers. I kept thinking it as Stuff Her Stocking.
Yes,
Like
100.
the entire time I was reading it was Stuff That Stocking. Stocking Stuffers by Erin McClellan. It's the first book in the So Over the Holidays series, and there haven't been any others published yet, which makes me wonder what the rest of them are going to be. I'm like wondering if it's going to be about her family members. Like that was kind of like
set up like her other because they
yeah.
Oh,
did.
totally.
They set up like her sister has
Is getting a divorce.
getting a divorce, and like her brother who's gay was like out on the town.
Yeah,
like,
hasn't
you
met
know
the
what I
right
mean?
guy yet.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I have to say, like the sibling relationship scene, of which there was only one, I would have had
more.
Yeah, I would have liked to have had more
I
of
feel
that.
like this could be a series about them. And I hope it is because otherwise I'm not really sure who else the like recurring characters would be in the series. But
because you really find out enough about his, his sister and
They did introduce others who were staying at the inn, though, which they could do a Clue style kind of rotating situation with. What were their names? Karen and
the FBI.
Andy.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I want to say there was
the cute like lesbian
couple.
Right.
Yeah, so I could see them maybe exploring those things a little bit more, but I would love it if it was about their family.
I would for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and this just came out. This was published November of this year, 2019.
Wow.
It's available on Amazon, $3.99 Kindle edition, or if you have Kindle Unlimited like Cassie does, it is free.
Free 99.
Yeah. I actually I received an advanced reader's copy of this novella a few months ago. So thanks to Erin McClellan and A Novel Take PR for that. So let's dive in to stocking stuffers. Okay, I know everybody's got out their super cute notebook with their notes. So let me give everyone the synopsis real fast for this so you're all caught up with us. This is stocking stuffers. Sasha Holiday is so over the holidays after getting left at the altar last Christmas Eve. But as the marketing maven, I love that word, for Lady Robin's intimate implements, I have a lot of things to say about that title.
I agree. Yeah.
She's stuck not so merrily pitching naughty toys at a romance book club's Christmas party. Her loathing of the Yuletide only intensifies as a snowstorm rolls in and traps her at the Winterberry Inn. Stranded with her is Perry Winters, a hot, bearded book club member trimmed in flannel and tattoos. Okay, that's like the description that I want to put on like every dating app for like, what are you looking for?
This exactly this.
A flannel
this
with
man.
Yeah, I will say this man,
the way he was written and described, I was like, well, I swiped. Yeah, I was like, yes.
I'm not even going to put the description. I'm going to put, I am looking for Perry Winters.
Yeah, sir, are you out there?
I am looking for. Perry's a romantic with an unerring belief in the magic of the season, and he recognizes a Christmas miracle when he sees it. Brave, smart, and confident, Sasha Holiday is a gift. And the gifts keep coming. In more way than one. When she suggests they pass the time with some no-strings fun. After all, she has a big bag of toys that would make even Santa want to stay in bed on Christmas Eve. But the frisky festivities turn complicated as feelings spark between Sasha and Perry. Perry wants to see Sasha once the snow clears, but Sasha is reluctant to take the relationship sleigh ride again. Perry will have to show her that love is more than just a holiday feeing.
The number of Christmas-related puns
and
innuendos in this book.
We start right out. We would, what did I... Oh my gosh. He was the type of man who could make her Christmas knickers twist.
Yep.
She wanted to be his rum cake.
Yes. There are...
Like, wait.
It's a lot.
I would like to say, though, right off, that I do feel like this is clever for a Christmas erotic novel.
Yeah.
Like, I think her having a big bag of Santa toys, I think that they fit in the Christmas theme well. It reads very much like, okay, you will like this little novella if you love Hallmark movie fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what this is. It's like a Hallmark movie that is also a sex
Spicy.
movie.
And I'm gonna straight up say this is probably my favorite holiday romance novella I've ever read. Like I have so many positive things to say about this book. Like, now, granted, if you do not love Christmas, if you do not love things associated with the holidays or Christmas, it will probably get on your last damn nerve.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times they mention red, green, winter berries,
glitter.
I started counting the winter berries.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of winter berries and jingle bells and snow. Like, it's very much, that is the lingo. That is half of the words in the book.
No, I mean, it is a Hallmark movie.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so you have to be okay with that. There's going to be crafting. There's going to be a lot of like apple cider and hot chocolate and
food
yes.
porn.
Oh my God.
What I wrote down. I was like, this book is like ads for sex toys and Yelp reviews for a bed and breakfast.
Yeah, because which I'm okay with.
Can we talk about how Valerie cooked all that fucking food?
Impossible first. Like towards the end of the novel, they start talking about like how Valerie looks kind of tired, and I'm like, of course she's fucking tired.
Making cherry stuffed French toast, tea sandwiches, goat cheese and fig tarts
by herself.
I love that she's making this big ass breakfast with eggs to order, mind you.
Okay.
And then
okay.
And then like a few hours later, she's like, "Oh, you guys missed lunch." I'm like, "Who the fuck is eating?
Are you hungry right
after
now?
that French toast?"
So much food.
Oh my God, so many dishes. And I'm like, I was counting because I was like, how many people are staying in that inn? So I'm like, logistically, because
Yeah.
I've worked in the restaurant business, I'm
through.
running
Run
it
us
out.
through.
I'm like, there's just not enough time.
Yeah.
And just
and
her.
It was a very strange literary choice to write in that all of her staff wasn't there. I was like, that seems unnecessary. Why couldn't they have been there? Like, why couldn't you have given a girl some help?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Also, your brother is there? Hi, he can't help you?
I mean, he did offer to
He
help.
offers. She's like, "I'm good."
Yeah, she's like frantic and tired, but she's like, it's fine.
I know.
Fine, this is fine. I can do it. I can do it.
Well, I thought it was funny that they mentioned that like she's not really a chef. Like she has a chef on staff, but she's the baker and like pastry chef. So I was like, oh, that's funny. So what are they going to get snowed in and all they can eat are cakes all
Yeah.
weekend?
Right.
Like I'm okay with that. But
No, she
did
cooks
okay.
for funsies.
Yeah,
she's
she
like,
did okay.
It really was the Great British Baking Show up in there.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
No soggy bottoms in sight.
No,
none.
I mean, the number of times too, if you could make a drinking game out of this book, the number of times that she mentioned how much she hates Christmas, loathes
Yes.
Christmas, you would be so drunk in this novella.
That
Yeah.
I do think got tiresome for me. I was
Yeah.
like, we get it.
Yeah.
You don't like Christmas.
Well, and
we
it-
got it.
It became like as it went on, and we're talking about Sasha, whose last name is Holiday. Go figure.
Okay.
We're talking about Sasha Holiday, and her whole thing about not loving Christmas is because she was stranded at the altar by her fiance 1 year prior on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is, I feel like, traumatic enough.
Right, she has Christmas PTSD.
so traumatic.
Right. And then on top of that, I liked when we got this extra layer to it afterwards, like much later in the story where it was like she and her siblings, like they didn't have like a big household when they were growing up. Like, no, it wasn't very festive. Their parents weren't around a lot of the time. They passed early on, or at least one of them did.
Yeah.
And so she like overcompensated by trying to like dive into Christmas. And then it's like it backfired.
It
on
burned her. Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
but I'm
Christmas
with
did
you.
burn her. I understand. Like
she said
she's-
it a lot though. We got it. We
she's
understood.
got holiday shell shock. I understand.
Yeah.
But like, wow. I was like, I get it. Like everything remotely Christmas related makes you want to puke. Like,
Right.
Cool.
I felt like as it went on, it felt more to me like it was more of like she was using that like as an excuse, like sort of
Sure.
like, okay, wait, I have to remember I hate Christmas. Like
yes.
this is why I can't fall in love at Christmas. I can't do this. Like so, yeah, but it's definitely repetitive. I mean, as repetitive as we are with winter berries.
Well,
yeah.
And then my other issue, and this is because I'm on the dating scene, so I'm reading this this book, and I'm like, okay, not to be cynical, but I'm going to be cynical. He like fell in love with her immediately.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I would say it was uncomfortably fast.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
how
was-
into her.
But I think that's romance novel.
That's a trope in some
101.
romance that we usually call insta love.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like most times I've read insta love, it's on both parties' sides. Like it's like
Yeah.
this immediate
Yeah.
connection. And I was definitely getting it more from
him.
Harry as
Yeah.
opposed to Sasha.
And I definitely like my type. I like more like assertive,
Mm-hmm.
you know, confident. And I think it was a good choice to make her the assertive, confident,
Yeah.
like one in charge. But my own personal thing, I'm like, what do I got to teach you fucking everything, dude? Like you don't know how to use like a
Fucking
any of
fleshlight.
these things? Like,
Right.
come on, just stick your dick in it. That's how you use it. Like, come on.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would say again, if we're looking at this book as a Hallmark movie, that is a pretty standard thing that happens in Hallmark movies. I think what rubbed me slightly wrong, to Christina's point about it, is that usually in Hallmark movies you are not in the character's head, so you're not getting that kind of first person account. And it did at some point start to feel kind of whiny, and then also
On Sasha's point of view?
no, on his.
Oh, okay,
Like,
okay.
I felt like he was starting to get kind of like very like whiny and needy
Got
and
it,
sullen,
okay.
and then also it was kind of like, dude, she told you what she needed, and if you couldn't handle it, maybe you shouldn't have like agreed to this. Like you know yourself, and you know that you don't do one night stands, and you know you don't handle it well, and you know you're a romantic, and you know all these things. So whenever she's unwavering on the thing that she told you she was very clear about like her boundaries, and repeated her boundaries clearly, articulated them throughout the entire book until the end. For him to then be so like dejected about it was kind of annoying. And I understood it, of course, because it's like, that's what we do as people. We get attached, and then like, of course,
you've heard this story on My First Date many times.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced this story where like you think that they tell you what they want, and you think you can change their mind.
Yes, 100%.
Right? Like that does happen, but it was something about reading it that just every now and again I was like, dude.
I will say there were so many instances though of consent.
Oh my God.
Book,
like more
that's what I want to talk about.
So many things.
That's exactly what I want to talk about.
Where I was
too.
like, when you're talking about like, this is probably one of the most sex positive
absolutely
that I've ever read, where it's like, it was such a good representation of how you can play and have fun sexually and do it in a responsible way.
Yes.
And I really, really appreciated that. Where there are so many books that I've read, or stories that we get all the time where that's not the case. So I really appreciated that. And then also the inclusivity of it.
Yeah.
That was my thing too. You want to take that on, Kathy?
That was one of the first things I talked about with you guys. Just was like, I really, really, I mean, it was from get. She was so inclusive in the way that she talked at the sex party. Yeah. I love, like you were saying about him being, and it was, everything was okay. There was no kink shaming. There was no anything. It was actually so beautifully written in that way where you're kind of like, there was this moment where you're like, I really wish this is how everybody kind of operated.
Right.
Yeah. And she was even talking about like the prostate stimulator. And when she was talking about at the party, she's like, so anybody who has a prostate, she didn't even say.
So did I.
Men or women.
Yeah. Right. Anyone who has a prostate or a penis. I actually wrote that down.
Yep.
Because that is such inclusive language. I feel like it was very well written to be inclusive, in that people oftentimes make such a big deal about how difficult this is. Like, it's so difficult to do like appropriate pronouns or anything like that. And it's actually not that difficult. And she didn't even have to think twice about it. And also all of the consent stuff. I think oftentimes people like to think that consent is unsexy because you have to stop what you're doing to ask, or like whatever, and it's like unromantic in some way. And the way it was woven into this story was so like flawless and seamless, that that's the way that it should be in real life. It's just, you don't have to slow down, you don't have to stop what you're doing, or stop being passionate to get consent before you do something.
No, and it was constant. It wasn't just like, can we keep going? And then they would just blow through all the different levels of sex. They would do a little something. Oh, can we keep going here? Oh, are you okay? Like constant, like checking in and like seeing, yes, you liked this last thing we did. However, is this okay to move on to something new?
Yes, right. Yes.
Like, I loved that they played so much, but they never actually had penetrative sex until much later in the story.
You almost forget that they don't.
No,
because you're like, wait, they haven't had
this
sex yet.
Sex,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
what I really liked about it too, and to the point, like you're saying, it was flawless. I didn't take me out of the moment. It reminds me, Kelly, I know you've been reading romance for a really long time.
Oh yeah, girl.
It reminds me of when condoms started being introduced as a regular thing that you hear in romance novels,
which is something that still surprises guests on the show. That's actually something a lot of people point out is this something that they mention in romance novels a lot is birth control. And I was like, they do now. That is like a major thing in a lot of romance now.
It is. And I love that has become so second nature to think. And it doesn't take you out of the moment.
No.
They're grabbing a condom. There's always talk of it. And I think that this is a good step in the right direction to start using inclusive language. And I think that we're seeing maybe a turn in the way that romance can go and will go in the future. And so maybe we're seeing just the cusp of that. That's just exciting.
Yeah. Even whenever he was talking about condoms, whenever they paused for that moment, he even says to her, he's like, I don't even know if you are thinking about having sex or want to have sex right now. But if you do, just a heads up, I don't have condoms, so we wouldn't be able to, and it
didn't ruin the moment.
Didn't ruin the moment at all. And she had them on her, so it was fine. And
and it actually turns me on more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what's so funny is that people think it's like slows the thing down. I'm like, you just showed consideration for my feelings and respect for my body. Like, oh, wow.
Well, having read so many romance novels, I can say that if there's no mention of birth control in any way in a book I'm reading, that's what stands out to me more now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's become so part of the norm of the structure of these stories to have that discussion that if it's missing, I'm like, oh, she gonna get pregnant.
Yeah.
Well, and
one of those stories.
Outside of birth control, even, that's the other thing. Outside of birth control, these characters did just meet. Like, they literally just met.
They're
so
strangers.
Even if she was on birth control, it's like you still need to wear a condom for safety. It's like, because you don't really know each other, no matter how much you think, like, no matter how insta-love this relationship was. I also loved that she checked in with him
all
lot.
The time.
Yeah.
Which we don't usually talk about, asking men for consent. I feel like it's been a big, like, trope that, like, men just want it all the time and it doesn't matter, like, what you do or what they're comfortable with. And she checked in on his boundaries constantly, which was great. And it didn't take you out of it at all. Yeah.
Well, because she was the one really leading a lot of this. Like, she was the one educating him on a lot of the things that they were doing together. So, I mean, I found that refreshing alone. I was like, there's a lot of romance now with, like, very strong women taking agency in their sexuality and everything. And I love that. But I don't know if I've seen one quite like this, where it's more of the female character really leading them through their sexual awakening together.
Right. Yeah.
Where he's along for the ride. Like, he's, says, I want this. Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's try it. Yeah. So, I mean, I found that so refreshing. This book was just like a breath of fresh air to me, because it was a lot of things like we've talked about, the consent and the inclusive dialogue that I wish I was seeing in everything. And I hope, like we said, this is sort of the new wave that we're going towards.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I just will give her kudos as a writer, because she made it seem effortless. It wasn't clunky. It didn't stand out at all. It just felt really natural. And so,
even whenever she gave him head, it was her idea. It was something that she clearly wanted. I liked that. I liked that everything that they did together were things that they clearly wanted to do. There didn't feel like there were any, like, compromises.
No.
It was both, like, two people who are really down to explore each other. So I really enjoyed a lot of that.
Yeah.
I will say that digging your car out of snow in a tiny red velvet dress and fishnets,
honey,
as somebody that is from the Midwest.
3 Midwesterners here. I texted them while I was reading it.
Bug,
okay. I have a lot to talk about here. A lot. Because my very first car was a 1971 VW Bug. Okay. That was my very first car. It was a stick shift. Hers, I'm sure, was as well.
Yeah.
First of all,
Yeah.
you weren't getting up that hill to begin with. Like,
snow or no
snow. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're you're stuck there. Yeah. Like, you should have known that right away. Secondly, you're going on and on about how this is a Midwestern winter blizzard advisory, and you two are having a full ass conversation outside in the snow.
Okay.
With, like, she's wearing, like,
red velvet.
It took me out of it. I'm like, you're in, like, a mini dress and, like, thigh highs. Like, you are not, like,
and heels. You fell 15 times easily.
You look like a baby deer walking across the ice, like, just
shin deep in snow.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then she tried to go up that, like, icy hill, super steep hill, twice. And I was like, bitch, if it didn't happen the first time, it's not happening.
I like that they tried. They're like, let's put some kitty litter out. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cute idea.
But that is how you knew how, like, he was super accommodating from the off, because I'm like, this man is standing out in a blizzard with you, willing to go back inside, go find kitty litter, come back outside, like, and he knows looking at you that this is,
it ain't
like,
gonna happen.
It's
But he's gonna let you.
Efforts are futile right now.
I'm real sad that they did find kitty litter and there was no mention of the cat.
Yeah,
where is
that cat? Where is that
that
cat?
Oh, I want a big, grumpy, like,
Winterberry Inn cat.
yes, B&B cat. It's a Maine Coon.
Yes,
Oh,
it is.
yes, that cat
is such an asshole.
Mhm. He's been alive for like 16 years.
Yep.
He's like,
It's villain.
It's
my cat.
It's your cat.
Oh
It
my
is-
gosh.
I just literally feel like it's your exactly.
got one snaggletooth.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I love it.
How do
Hates
we
everybody.
feel about, because I know how I feel about it. How do we feel about Lady Robin's Intimate Implements?
I think from a marketing standpoint, that was a bad title. Like,
Same.
it's too
And
hard
we
to
have-
say.
We have our marketing like director for this
Yeah.
company. That's
I don't like the
Sasha is.
brand.
I don't like the brand, and I don't like the names of the toys.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
will say if there was
have a few if you want to
Anything
hear
that
them.
threw me out of the things, some of the moments were the names of the toys.
There
Like,
was a solid paragraph where she was saying every
Everything.
toy.
And
Right.
I've got it. I've
Okay.
got it.
All right.
Here we go. Hold on. Okay, I had it.
well, I'll say while you're
Where'd it
looking real
go?
quick, because it actually inspired me. I'm like, if I ever had a toy company, which I think would be rad, I would name the toys just like names. Like this is
Jeff.
the Veronica. Jeff. Jeff.
Stick Jeff in me.
What is the Jeff? What does the Jeff look like?
The Jeff
Okay,
is definitely
so-
like the rabbit.
Yeah, but he's got like some sort of like
He's got socks on.
hair, like a mullet. Like he's got like a
Well,
mullet.
that's why I'm
too.
saying it's like the rabbit. And that's
Yeah.
pretty much the mullet of
my
Yeah.
God.
All like
Did
this,
we
like-
just create a business? Because I
Yes.
am so down for this.
I am
we
too.
have got to create
I wanted them
a
to be
sex
girl
toy
names, but
company.
now I need
Well,
a
they
Jeff.
can be girl names too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not judging.
I was all the Veronica. You're like
and
Jeff.
I thought of Jeff, and I don't know why that was the one I thought of either.
Frank.
So while you're looking for those names, I will say something that I did like about this, though. I did like the conversation around the use of sex toys
Yes.
Correct.
and how it
That was good.
Yeah, it wasn't shamey in any
Nope.
way. It was
No.
very, very, very positive. And when she's talking about, the like orgasm gap between men and women, I thought that was like a really good conversation to be having, something that needed to be brought up. And then whenever she was talking about the necessity of sex toys, because like some women actually need them to orgasm, and like that's important. And so I loved that conversation was had.
Yeah.
Not only that, though, having him be game for the sex toys too.
Yeah.
Which is something I've never read in like anything. And I think there's less stigma for women using
Oh,
sex
absolutely.
toys, but there
Mhm.
definitely is around like guys
Yeah.
using them.
And I think it stems from I can't make you come with my big angry cock. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a ego thing that like, oh, you have to have a sex toy.
Well-
What am I not good enough for you?
And like,
And it's
you want to put
ridiculous.
something in my ass? I'm not gay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that
God,
immediate
yeah.
response.
Oh, you want me to lick that off? What am I gay?
Yeah, I love that. There's like that one section where they use a vibrator on Sasha, and then afterwards he licks it and he like sucks the vibrator. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, I never thought about sucking a dick before, but I don't know, this is pretty nice." So
Kind of hot.
I was like, "Yeah, that's great. Doesn't make you gay, like,
No,
and
yeah,
even
it
if it
doesn't.
did, okay,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's what I love.
Yeah.
yeah." Okay, you ready for this list
So
of
ready.
products that we sell at what is it?
Lady Robin.
Lady Robin's Intimate Implements.
See, it's too hard to say.
It's implements. That's the word that throws me.
Implement.
It's the intimate implements together because it's that alliteration.
Yeah, but-
and two hard
But it sounds
I
like
words.
torture devices.
Implement sounds like
does.
very
Yeah.
utilitarian.
Or
It's
like
very like unsexy.
Tools from Home Depot.
Yes, yeah, like
those
that's
are my favorite toys.
Is it a jackhammer? I don't like that.
Let's implement it. Okay, here you go. You've got the Remy, which they do try in this
Pretty,
list.
yeah, that one's
The
pretty
Remy,
straightforward. I feel.
P-Spot Pulse and Pulse 2. Collar Me nipple clamps. Sporty strap-on with diamond glass dildo. These are my
Sound like they're
favorites.
going to cut you.
Yeah, these are my favorites here. Monster Me tentacle dildo.
No.
Monster Me mermaid dildo.
No.
But I want to see it. Like,
I would
I've got all
love to
sorts of
see it.
questions.
Absolutely.
Finger slip vibrator. Okay.
That's pretty straightforward.
Not your mother's pearls anal beads.
Absolutely fucking
No.
not.
Absolutely no.
I don't want mother or mom or mommy attached to any of my
Anything.
toys.
I don't want to be thinking about my mom's pearls at all.
Ever.
The shake and shimmy cock ring.
Okay.
The slim and simple vibrator wand.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the one that we use on Perry early on, the fancy flesh stroker.
That's
the Jeff.
fancy flesh stroker.
Jeff.
The Jeff.
I also, can we just say, even with the fleshlight, I'm like, can we just keep flesh out of it? Like, I don't like that. I think it's so weird. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
It's unsexy to me.
Stroker more than light, like fleshlight, flesh
agree.
stroker.
Yeah.
I like the stroker thing better, but
there's got to be something better than saying flesh.
Oh, doesn't that just make your skin crawl?
yeah.
I just call it like a meat pocket.
Oh, okay. Wait. Wait.
I
I have things to say on the word meat.
meaty.
Because
She
meaty.
uses it 4 different ways.
Thank you.
And I do
That's
not
why
want to
it's in my
describe
head.
anyone's testicles as meaty.
Well, and I wrote it down that they described balls as meaty, but then they also described as like him gripping her ass as like her meaty flesh.
Well,
I
and
was
then
like,
she
too much
uses
meat.
it, and then she uses it to literally talk about food. And I'm like, what?
Wait,
Like,
where
what's
are we?
happening?
So much meat. So much meat.
Everything is meaty. Like, because she was talking about the chestnuts. They were roasting
Yes.
chestnuts, and when she ate them, she was like, "Oh, the meaty nut." And I'm like, "Oh, I hate it."
I actually have never had a chestnut, I think.
I don't think I have.
I've only
either.
had them at the Dickens Fair.
I've had a chestnut, but not roasted. I feel like
They're fine.
they're fine.
Like it's
Just
it's
like
whatever.
nuts.
I did like that they mentioned. I feel like a lot of the things that the characters would think were things that I was thinking too. So the fact that it was mentioned by the author, I appreciate it because when they are roasting chestnuts, and I think it's Perry who says, "Who would have thunk that somebody would own a specific chestnut roaster?" Oh, that's right, it's a Christmas Inn.
Yeah.
I was like, that was my thought exactly. Was he said I went to go get the chestnut roaster, and my immediate thought was, I'm sorry, what? You have that? And yeah, so I was okay with the fact that that was mentioned.
Yeah, especially since that's what they like tailor their inn for. I was like, okay, like that makes sense. But yeah, it's
How much would you want to stay at this inn?
I don't like Christmas, and I would stay at this inn 100.
Heartbeat. I would stay.
It
There's
sounds
a
charming
Christmas tree
AF.
in my room.
Right.
Hell yeah. It smells like pine needles in there all the time. There's twinkly lights. We know how much I like twinkly lights.
You've got this saucy lesbian pastry chef that
Oh,
runs the
hell
whole
yeah.
joint. Valerie, she was like my spirit animal.
She's-
I loved her.
I loved
Cooking
her
for me
too.
all day, every day.
And I
Fucking mulled wine on the ready. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want that French toast, man.
Maybe this could be a new tradition. We go find this Airbnb.
Yes.
And
I want to stay with like this group of characters too. Cause like I loved Valerie. Louise was like her like little love interest that I'm like, I hope you make it. And then you had the lesbian couple where one of them is with the FBI.
Yep.
And one of them works at a strip club.
Works at a strip club and is studying
bouncer
to
or
do
something.
something.
Yeah,
She's a
of course,
bartender.
like a bartender.
And then a PhD candidate. I was
Yes.
like, and then you have that teenage
Gothy
emo
teen.
boy.
Oh, that
Ooh,
emo-
perfect.
And he just knows everything about everyone. Like, yeah, you sell sex toys. Like, all right.
yeah,
Gothy teen was my fave. Yeah.
Planting his black pine cone.
I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really fun. And then of course, obviously, Sasha's family is just a delight. Like so,
Yeah, the characters, I will say, I enjoyed that they did work on like character development outside of, because I think when we were on the show last time, that was a thing that we talked about, that there was a lot of surrounding characters. Similarly, they were staying in a house, like
Oh,
they were
yeah, I
this
didn't
time.
even think about that.
Yeah.
But the characters were very underdeveloped in that there were so many of them and you really didn't get to know any of them. And
Like,
in
what is
this
Game of
one,
Thrones?
yeah, yes. In
They're
this
in
one,
one week, they're out the next.
they really allowed you to get to know these people and the personalities. And yeah, they had great conversations.
And that's hard in a short story. And
Yep.
you guys have had the opportunity to read 2 novellas.
Yeah.
For this podcast. So I mean, I think there's this misunderstanding that a lot of people have where if it's a novella, oh, it's not going to be developed. Like it's too short. It's not going to be as good as a book would be. I don't think that's the case. And
No.
you've read 2 different novellas for this podcast. And I think it's clear that one of them was much more developed than the other
Definitely.
one.
Well, for me,
Absolutely.
this is my third because I did an episode with you for
Yes.
Your Angry Neighborhood Feminist as well, my other podcast.
Right.
And of the 3, this was the most well-written and well-developed of the 3 that I've read so far.
Yeah,
So-
agreed.
Yeah, sometimes it would get a little like punny
Yes.
for me.
Yeah.
But it was still, like I said, I think overall, I really thought that it was well written. And Keegan, you nailed it perfectly by just saying it's like a Hallmark fan
Yeah.
fiction.
Yeah.
You know, and you go into it looking at it that way, and like it's really well developed. The sex scenes, especially the first one, I thought that
the first
first
one's the
sex
best.
scene was
That was the best one.
I actually have a quote from it though that like,
Oh, is it time for our sexcerpts?
well, we can do that.
We can
but
get
this
into
one
it.
was, I just was like, when we're talking about some of the verbiage used, like some of it was spicy and some of it was like so spicy that I was like, time out.
I think we're going to need a reading.
Well, the one little quote that I pulled was from chapter 2, and she says, "Drive that cunt like you stole it, baby."
Yeah.
Damn.
I love it. Love it.
I also liked that their first sexual interaction, again, like we've said, like they don't have penetrative sex until like pretty far into the novella, but their first interaction, I never thought that like mutual masturbation would be sexy in any way.
Dude, so my thing. I love that kind of thing.
I thought it was really
It
hot.
was the best of the 3 sex scenes we got, or
It
4.
really was.
Yeah, because she puts her hand over his mouth when Valerie comes in. She's like, "Is this okay?" And he just like he nods, and she's like, "Good." Then keep going.
That was the passage that I marked for my favorite sex because I loved that she like took control and he was all about it. And, okay. Well, I mean, should we just read them now? I feel like we're at that time.
Yes, you and I have the same one because that's
Okay.
I thought that was the hottest part of the book.
Well, okay. I highlighted that spot specifically, so I'll start where the reason she slaps her hand over his mouth is because they're like having their little mutual masturbation sesh in the bathroom, and his sister Valerie, the owner of the inn, knocks on the door and is like, "Hey," and so she's like, "Shut up." So slapped a hand over his mouth. "This okay?" she asked him softly, breath hot in his ear. He nodded frantically. "Good. Go faster." It was too much, too amazing. And the thrill of almost being caught, of having to be quiet, his eyes rolled back, his body shaking. Right there. He was right there. "Come for me, Perry," she whispered. Her teeth tugged his earlobe. His body locked up, and she smothered his groan with her hand as he filled the flesh stroker with his spunk. It had only been a few seconds from the moment Valerie knocked, but he felt like time slowed as he quaked through his orgasm.
Yep. I was like, well, this, because this right there, like towards the beginning of the book, I was like, chapter 2, like, we're settling in. I was like, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
I will say that the descriptions of all of the orgasms throughout the book are good because you have that like high intensity anticipation. She's very good at writing that, you know, so you feel that. Yeah.
I like the phrase she uses in a different scene where she says, "Thank the ghost of orgasms past."
Yeah. Another Christmas double entendre.
Yeah, there were a lot of ghosts of something past, present, like mentioned in the story. I thought that was cute. But yeah, I can see where it would get a little too much with like the Christmas puns and
there was, they even did your 12 days of Boobsmas. They did the 12 days of
it was what was
fuck
it?
buddy.
Toysmas.
My first day of Christmas, my fuck buddy gave to me. Yeah.
I thought that was cute. I do like you know what? I'm usually not a fan of like stories that have an epilogue at the end either. That's like, let's fast forward and show you the perfect happy ending.
Oh, I like that though.
I thought it was cute in this one. Yeah. Like I thought it worked.
I love a fast forward.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it? What didn't you like about it?
I don't know.
Cheesy, but I love knowing what
cheesy.
happened.
The timeline of this whole thing, if we're going to get into like a few criticisms, the timeline of it, her having had a very traumatic experience the year before and then diving headfirst into a relationship the next year that is very fast, actually.
And he was even sooner. Like he had broken up with his girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah. And so to me, it is fast. And then to go from being left at the altar to meeting someone to the next year getting engaged, which is what happens at the end. First of all, felt very fast to me. It also, for everything that this book does very well, in terms of it being very progressive, and there's a lot of relationships that are not heteronormative, that ending, that kind of like classic, we're getting engaged, we're going to get married, even though a year ago I didn't even want a relationship because I had literal PTSD, felt very... I don't know. Like it felt like dumbed down for me.
I didn't feel that way, but I see what you're saying.
I felt the same way as somebody that's like, well, I'm on year 2. I'm like, oh, so I should be ready to be engaged at this point. And I'm just like, I can't even.
But also, you have to respect that everybody is at a different place at a different time,
right? Yeah. And I hear these stories about people where they do have this like whirlwind romance.
Sure. And I would actually say that the timeline of it bothers me less than feeling like it's a cop-out to have this like very traditional heteronormative ending
It
to
almost
this story.
felt too tropey for you.
Yes, to me, for this story. Because, I love a good Hallmark movie. I don't mind an engagement at the end. Like, it's fine. It's just for this particular story, which has been so progressive throughout, I would have preferred something a little bit less traditional at the end.
Such a good point.
Fair. Yeah, no, and you know what? The only thing that like saves it, because that is something that I did consider as I was reading the ending, but the thing that does save it a little bit for me is the fact that he proposes to her while they're naked in bed, and he doesn't even really ask her. It's like this really awkward like moment of just like, yeah, like I'd love to be your husband.
Yeah, and she's like,
am I supposed to say yes?
How about you open the box first so that I can give you my answer?
There could be a hot sex toy in there. She's like,
the proposal was very cute. I will say that the proposal was cute.
But I do understand where you're coming from, because it does seem like from everything we know about Sasha, especially not so much with Perry, but with Sasha, I don't necessarily see her as somebody that wants to settle down and have a monogamous heteronormative relationship.
Right, exactly.
Right. Even though she was about to the year before.
Right. True.
She was, but I mean, we also don't know. I wish they had explored a little bit more of the conversation around her bisexuality, because they bring it up a lot, and she does reveal that to him, and she's nervous about that. And they have a great portion of the book where they talk about how difficult it is for people to come out, because it's not just a one-time thing. It's something you have to do over and over again to every new person that you meet. And I love the language around like being queer identifying, and like all of that stuff was great, but they don't really explore what that means for their relationship at all. Sure. And so I think maybe part of what was an issue for me at the ending was that kind of feeling of just like, okay, well, I guess we're just jumping right into traditional,
they're going to be the couple on Tinder.
Yeah, looking for the unicorn
player.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play.
That's the real ending.
Can we, since we brought up unicorn, can we talk about how there's a show like right now and it's called The Unicorn? And I'm
yes,
like,
I'm very confused.
Did they not know about that term?
I don't know if what's the show?
I've never seen it, but I just know that it's about some single guy, I think.
It's about a single guy he's a single father, I think, and he's looking for like a new wife or something. I'm not exactly sure. It's that guy with very big veneers.
Him.
I always recognize him as the guy with very big veneers. I think his last name is like Groggins or something like that. But you would know him if you saw him. But yeah, because that term, I'm sure your listeners know, but if they don't know, a unicorn, if someone's asking for a unicorn on Tinder, they're looking for a third to, usually a woman, to join their existing couple.
See, and that's interesting, because like when I think of unicorn, I think of like, I'm looking for the unicorn, that like the mystical, perfect,
which is what I said when I found out as well.
That's what it means. That it's so like, it's so rare. Many couples want that like woman, that just mythical single fantasy hot bisexual woman that's willing to cater to the man and the wife, and like every single person is looking for that. So that's why it's almost like kind of like, we're looking for a unicorn.
Got it.
It's like everybody's looking for that mythical creature.
Right.
Well, maybe they can find it at the Winterberry Inn.
Maybe so.
Because they've got everybody.
They sure do. Yeah, there's somebody there for you.
Oh my gosh.
I did have another passage I highlighted.
Oh, yes. Read it.
And I think that, so this was in chapter 4, and this is when I think he's going down on her, and he said, it starts out, he licked her around the toy, grinding it against her G-spot gently before returning his focus on her clit. Like that, she breathed. Exactly like that.
Yes.
And thank the ghost of orgasms present, because he didn't take that command as an instruction to go harder and faster.
Yes. Yeah.
Can we make every guy read that passage? Because literally that has 0 times ever happened. When I say like that, they're always like, change it. And I'm like,
I literally said, what you're doing.
Just what you're doing is fine.
It's perfect.
It's great. It's what I want.
Yeah. No, Perry was like a fantastic partner to have, I feel like. Like, I'm not so much with, I feel like we wouldn't be a match with like his temperament. Like, he's a little too
he's broody,
quiet, not assertive enough. Yeah. But I also do like seeing a representation of that type of man in a romance
Absolutely.
novel.
It's nice to see a sensitive guy who actually wants a relationship. I feel like they they flipped that, which is traditionally the gender roles are usually flipped on that, where the woman is like, oh, I just want to settle down and get married, and the man's like, I don't know if I can have commitment. And they kind of flip that trope, which I actually did enjoy. Yeah.
And then on the flip side too, you have Sasha, where I loved this. It was just a quick mention, but I think at this point we already know that she's bisexual, but it was a really quick sentence that just said, a few of her regular lovers had not been fans of her hair when she chopped it into a pixie cut a few months ago. Needless to say, they weren't her lovers anymore. And I was like, oh, I love that there's just this mention of the fact that she just has like this casual, group of lovers that she has, like, fine, and that's something that I feel like in a lot of romance novels, you have the woman who, oh, I haven't had sex in a long time because, I'm waiting for that perfect guy, or
I'm just so busy. Usually whenever it's like business women, it's like, she's too busy to get dick. And it's like,
this woman was a business woman. She was a sexual woman. She was regularly having sex with multiple people. I was like, I love this representation.
Yes, and I loved like the morning after their first sexual encounter when she's in the shower and she's using a sex toy in the shower where she's fantasizing about a past lover, and it's a woman that she's fantasizing about, and it's just put in there just like anything else.
I mean, hell, she fucked one of her bridesmaids when her wedding broke up. He's like, what'd you do? Well, I fucked my bridesmaid. I'm like, wow.
And just cash as fuck.
Power moves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn. But yeah, no, I mean, needless to say, this book is not even a book. Novella is full of just moments and language that I just have not seen in a lot of novels, let alone romance novels.
Same. Right.
And I hope that, if this is anything to go by, I can for sure tell you I want to read more Erin McClellan. I don't think I've read any more of her stuff. So this is, a good place to start, I feel like, with a new author.
I mean, I really enjoyed it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I know we rated, our last book that we read pretty low, but out of 5, I would give it like a solid 4, actually.
Oh, we grade out of 10.
Oh,
10. So, I mean, at this point, what we normally do is grade for story, syntax, and sexcapades. And I've added an extra category, seeing as it's the season of giving. We're grading for Santa, too. So I'm going to ask you to give a grade out of 10, 10 being the very highest that it could be for story, syntax, sexcapades, and Santa. So Santa meaning just sort of like the holiday
festiveness of it.
Of this story.
Yeah. Well, in that case. So it's story.
Do I start with story?
Yes. Yeah. Story. I would give the story a solid 7.5.
Okay.
I think maybe even an 8. I would even maybe give it an 8. It had a lot of repetitive things in it that maybe you won't love. There's a lot of puns. There's a little bit of cheese factor. But again, I think that oftentimes in romance novels, that can be something that happens, and very often in Hallmark style Christmas stories, that can be a thing that happens. So I'm a little bit more forgiving of the kind of like cheesy language that can sometimes creep up in this book. So I would give this story I'd give it. Let's go with an 8. Let's
solid
go with an 8. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Christina?
I'm saying the 8 is exactly what I would give it. I deduct a couple points, and it's only because the cheesy factor for me is not 100. But I recognize that, like, if you are into that kind of thing, then you'll love it. The actual story itself, I felt like it was a good story with fully developed characters, and I mean, I really enjoyed it.
That's where I was going to go too. Is 8. I completely agree with what both of them said.
I have an 8 too, so 8 across the board.
Yeah.
How about the syntax? So Miss Erin McClellan's writing.
I actually would go higher. Yeah, I would give it. I don't know why I'm hesitant to give it a 10, but I would. I'm going to say 9. Just I'm very nervous going first with the scores. I'll say a 9. I actually thought it was well written. It was very well written. Again, this is my 3rd time I've been on this podcast, and this was by far the best written story that I've read. So I'd give it a solid 9.
Awesome.
9 as well. 1 point taken away for meaty balls.
Oh yeah. You're right.
But I mean, the actual syntax, like you said, and the way that she very cleverly and easily used inclusive language.
I'd give it a 30 just for that.
Yeah. I will say, if you're deducting one for meaty, I'm going to deduct one for the use of the word arousal as many times as were used to describe her cum.
Her arousal.
Yeah, because I was just like, can we just call it cum, like, at some point, or like juices, anything else other than arousal? Like,
you'd be okay with juices.
Well, I just want some variety, because I feel like arousal was said like 16 times, and I've never ever called it that.
Okay,
so I was like, Fair, so
fair.
Deduct 1 point for
like,
arousal.
Cassie, you've probably got a word that stood out to you too, maybe.
Well, and I think this is why I'm going to go with an 8, and I appreciate the 9, but I for me, there were things in the writing that it's crazy. And I'm giving it the higher score than I think I would have because of the inclusivity. I loved the language that was used, the descriptors, the way that inclusivity is what's giving it an 8 for me. Because otherwise, I really found the repetitiveness, the use of the kind of some of the things like the
I don't like Christmas over and over.
Sure.
There was a lot
That's
of that,
fair.
and even just dialogue wise, there were some things dialogue wise that for me, and overall, just it was an 8.
Yeah, no, I actually gave it an 8 too. I love the inclusive dialogue. I mean, I think we're all on the same page with that. There were many times where I was marking like I've just even just the words red and green. Like I've heard so many times. The word for me that stuck out was implements that I just couldn't get on board with. And I felt like sometimes in Sasha's dialogue, especially when she's talking about sex toys with Perry, it almost felt a little too clinical.
Yes.
For me, if that makes sense. Like it felt more like I'm a doctor telling you how to use something as opposed to like, let me guide you through this together. So it came off like almost like a little condescending to me sometimes.
Sure, yeah.
Not all the time, not most of the time. So, I mean, it's a solid 8 for me. I mean, judging off of this, I would for sure read another book by this author.
Yeah.
So, I mean, very positive feelings.
Honestly, if we were reading something that wasn't Christmas centered, I think a lot of these things that, Cassie's describing and that we have pointed out as far as like that stuff, I think would be not an issue.
Christmas was definitely a character.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, gosh,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. How about the sexcapades out of 10?
I am going to give it an 8.
Okay.
Because for the first one, the mutual masturbation scene, I really enjoyed. That one was good for me. It was a good solid A for me. A couple of the other ones, the second one I think kind of fell flat for me. The like mutual head giving scene was fine, but it didn't go there for me as much as
stand up to the others.
Yes, as much as I wanted it to. The third scene when they actually do have penetrative sex, I actually did very much enjoy because he catered so much to her and was so focused on her pleasure and really exploring her body, which I really enjoyed. So I would say it's a good solid 8. I'm deducting points for, like, as you said, there was a lot of kind of like clinical discussions around the sex toys and things like that. So I would deduct a couple points for that.
Yeah, I go a 7 with the sexcapades. I'm trying to not view it through my eyes because I do like a more assertive partner. So I found myself not being super turned on for this book, but the first scene was great. I really, really liked that. And I did like the consent that was brought up. It did get a little too clinical around the sex toys. But overall, I feel like there was enough heat in it. And I liked the amount of sex that was in this book.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, the last book we read, they didn't get to sex until like the very end.
And even
75,
then, it
seriously.
took like 10 minutes of him pulling off her gloves.
Right.
And
And I was like,
her.
I can't with that. But this was well spaced out. It didn't feel like I've now read like romance novels where it's like every other fucking page.
Sure.
They're doing it. And I'm like, who's got the fucking time?
Yeah.
Did you quit your job?
Yeah, exactly. This felt good. So yeah, I give it a 7.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that I'm probably with Keegan. I would give it an 8. because it was spicy. And I think that there were a lot, like you said, it happened often. I thought that even though it wasn't penetrative sex, we got to it fast enough. We didn't, it wasn't a lot of time like to get to those points. And I think my deduction of points is just, again, maybe me looking through a personal lens of the too fast food of it all, where it's, where I said, I do like that it happened fast, but I didn't feel, maybe a tension between them. And as I've said before, I think that for me, as part of the spice or the heat level that I get from something is like, oh, is it, are they going to, is this
the slow
No,
burn.
you knew this was happening right away.
Yeah.
You knew that this was going to happen right away. And that's a really good point, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that being a novella, maybe that's some of it, but I think that also too, it's just part of that. Like I said, that's just kind of a preference for me.
And
That's
I'm
all.
with you. I gave it an 8, but my personal taste too is I love a slow burn much more. Although I love the way that the sex is treated in this story, that it's like, we're here, it's a holiday, we're snowed in,
It's
like
fun. I do like that they had fun with it.
Right. And
that
that's
felt
what
good.
I loved about it, was that it was more of like this holiday hookup story where, if this was a story that came on my worst date, but it wouldn't because it's not bad.
No.
I'd be like, oh God, that sounds like a great vacation. Like what a great vacation hookup.
She texted at one point. She was like, why is this bitch complaining about being snowed in at an inn with great dick?
I did. Yeah,
And food for days.
and that's when she texted back. So I texted the group because I'm just like, why is she complaining? She's at a scenic B&B for free and getting dick down anytime she wants.
Yes.
And then Christina texted back and she's like, and she's eating like amazing food
Right.
I mean,
constantly.
We didn't even talk about how when this story starts, they're having a BDSM reader book club.
The
Staunchly raunchy book club.
It's right up there with implements.
Yeah, I don't know about. It's hard to say.
But like, you've got great people, you've got great literature.
I love that Perry
food.
was in the book club.
Yes.
I love that
He's a
Perry was
well-read man.
engaged in and about reading romance.
Yeah.
I was really about it.
What did he like? He liked paranormal shifters.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
then
not
you
my
even
spice,
find
but
him. You even find him later on in the story, like sitting down reading an old school romance novel,
And it's treated as just
super normal.
super normal.
I like
Super
that.
normal.
I like
I did
that.
too.
It's almost as if we treated these things in normal in real life, they would be normal.
oh my god,
Yeah.
What?
What?
A radical concept.
out of here!
know.
I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
It's almost 2020. It's the year of perfect vision.
Yes. Oh, I like
I'm
that.
seeing the future.
Amen.
How about Santa rating?
Oh, a
Okay.
solid 10 out of
Easy.
10. Oh,
Yeah.
easy. It is Christmas. I mean, and you know how much I love Christmas. I love Christmas, but Christmas did throw up all over
over.
this story. Like this, there is not a corner in this book that doesn't have
Nope.
Christmas in it. This thing is covered in glitter from head to toe.
They actually use the term Christmas afterbirth.
Oh, ooh.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't love that, but
Don't
it
either,
is
but
true.
it's there.
It is very true. I could have done for maybe like one less pine cone. Lose a pine cone, add a cat. It would have been great.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, yes, it is. If you are looking for a Christmas romp, this is it. Yeah.
Yeah. 10.
Hands
Christmas was a character for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now I really want the version of the story that has the cat in it.
I know. We need to write the
a
author.
Hallmark fan fiction. And that one is what we can call stuff her stocking. So
Yeah.
I mean, I give it a 10 too for Santa. What do you think?
Same. 10,
Yeah,
10,
10.
10s across the board.
This
Perfect
is as
score.
Christmassy as it gets, which ironically, this is really funny, a little preview for our Hanukkah episode up next, the second day of Boobsmas. In that story, it's all Hanukkah. Like, I don't even think they use the word Christmas once.
Oh, good.
Well, that's
Oh,
good.
wow.
Which
Yeah.
just is so amazing to me.
It's refreshing.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, it's like Christmas doesn't exist in that story. Like, it's just not even part of the world.
Good.
So, something to look forward to next episode. Well, I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this book.
Yeah.
Does it make up for Christina the what was it, the deadly poison or protect, a delightfully deadly novella?
It absolutely does. And I will say the one great thing about being on the show the previous time was really talking with Cassie and getting recs from her and really
Good.
starting to get into
Good.
romance novels. So, and like exploring, because I mean, there are ones that you find the flavor that you like. There's so many different ones out there, and like even Poison or Protect, it's not my cup of tea, certainly, but there are people that do love those like super slow burns and stuff like that. So it's just really cool that there are lots of different types out there.
Every type.
Yeah.
Every type. In fact, I think you guys did a paranormal one, and I was like, oh, I've never done
Was it
a
Halloween Boo?
Yep. I think that's the one I
Where she
listened
fucks
to.
a ghost.
Oh no, wait.
I'm listening.
No, it was a little more sci-fi. There was more.
Okay.
It was a sci-fi.
We did do Cathian was an alien one.
That's one.
Yep.
Okay, so I was like, I'm gonna check it out, and I did not get very far. And
No.
it wasn't that book, so not to. But I was like, "This is nope, it's
Just
not.
not.
For me.
It's not your
And
flavor.
you know what? We read that one, and I am actually a fan of that author, and I
Mhm.
didn't enjoy that book, but I've loved some of her other books instead.
Yeah, there you
So,
go.
I mean, it's you just to each their own. There's
Exactly.
something for
Exactly.
everyone.
Yeah.
That's why there's so much porn.
Yeah. Same thing.
Anything you want, it's out there.
Yeah.
You Google that shit, you find it.
So, in the spirit of Boobsmas, I'd like to introduce a new segment, which I am calling Tit or Tat. And this is a would you rather-esque game.
Love it.
And I'm going to offer you ladies a series of scenarios in which you will select one or the other, tit or tat. All of these words, phrases, and themes come directly from today's reading, Stocking Stuffers by Erin McClellan. Are you ready?
So ready.
I've got 12 of them because it's the 12 days of Boobsmas.
All righty.
Mulled wine or spiked eggnog?
Oh, mulled wine.
Mulled wine.
Hands down.
Same. And I think eggnog's actually got dairy, so
Yeah, I don't love eggnog. I like it in desserts. You know,
Like an eggnog cupcake.
cupcake. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, sure. Okay. The Price is Right or Let's Make a Deal?
Price is
Price
right.
is right. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Price is right. Yeah.
100.
I'm with
I
you.
was pausing because I couldn't remember what Let's Make a Deal was.
What's that one
like,
that Wayne Brady hosts?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's cute. It's, whatever.
fine.
Yeah, it's Price is Right.
German chocolate cake or chocolate eclairs?
German chocolate cake.
Oh, I love coconut, German
I think,
chocolate.
yeah. Also,
I would have said the same thing, but after reading this book, I'm never going to look at a chocolate eclair the
those
same
eclairs
way.
sounded delicious. I will
Yes.
say that.
have the time to make all this fucking food.
I could have done this entire game, by the way, just off of the food,
I know.
but I was like, I got to mix it up a little bit. Prostate massager or flesh stroker?
Flesh stroker.
Prostate massager.
I'm gonna go flesh stroker as well.
Ooh, divided. I like it. Pine tree or spruce tree?
I really don't know.
I was like, what's the difference?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Like, I just know that they would mention so many
I feel like
fucking trees.
spruce is fluffier, which is appealing, but harder to decorate.
And
So-
also harder to, it sheds
Yeah,
needles and
I'm
shit.
I'm gonna go pine.
Okay, yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I'll say pine.
Spruce just sounds like you're just trying to fancy up a fucking pine tree.
Well, when I spruce her up, when I think
See.
of like Christmas trees, I think of either pine or like fir, like
Yeah,
Douglas fir.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love this. My Amnesiac Christmas or Toyland's Secret Baby.
Okay, so I do have to say that I do like that this author very clearly knew what this was and poked fun at the
Yep.
fact that those are supposed to be Hallmark movies or
Yep.
like the
Yeah.
equivalent.
But like the most garbage.
Oh, I'm watching
version of them.
Is it My Amnesiac Christmas basically while you were sleeping? I'm gonna fucking watch
I
that.
love that movie.
Well,
That should've been
but then I'm like, Toyland's Secret Baby. Is that like someone had a secret love child, or is it like we found a baby in
Yeah.
Toyland?
I gotta go with Toyland's Secret Baby.
I say it was same. Same.
I'm like, what?
Same. Or is that Elf?
Yeah, I mean, it could
maybe that
be.
is what it's based on. But yeah, either way, I'm watching both of these movies this Christmas. That's for sure happening.
Church.
Rejection City or No Strings Pound Town.
No strings.
No strings, Pound Town. Yeah.
Just as I watched both movies, I am going to visit both of those locations.
Rejection City. I don't want to go there.
Yeah, no, we're going to Pound Town.
Probably in Nevada. I feel like that's where that would be.
Is there a train to there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you have to take a bus afterwards.
It's exactly right. The stop is not right there.
Playing in the snow or making holiday crafts.
Snow.
Crafts.
And I don't like being cold, but
I hate being cold. I would much rather craft.
Do not like crafts.
I'm good in the snow for approximately 3.5 minutes. I like the idea of being out. I want to be out long enough to throw a snowball, and then I want to go back inside
and craft.
Yeah.
Okay. Historical romance or paranormal romance?
Oh, historical. Oh, son. Love me a historical.
I will
romance.
say I'm like weirdly curious about paranormal romance. Like I'm like kind of want to read at least one ghost hunter
There's some good
romance
ones.
novel. But I think I have to go historical on this. Yeah.
Yeah. Cassie's like having a hard time with this one.
She's
I know, because I'm really like
neither.
neither. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh. If
Gotta
I
choose.
had to, I would.
You'd be historical.
Because you read mainly contemporary, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do.
I would.
They do historical ones though that aren't like the one that we read last time, where they
Yeah.
they
Oh,
have a more
absolutely.
modern
Yeah.
sexual
Well,
like.
but on the flip side of that, paranormal can mean almost anything.
That covers a
so
lot
it's like,
of categories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is historical.
Yeah,
I mean, historical
absolutely.
could just be 1960s.
That's true.
that's
I don't know
true.
if I read one of those, although I did read one this year that was a suffragettes book.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
thought that was kind of cool.
I got to be honest, I hate both.
Okay.
And I cannot choose.
She picks or
Yeah. Sorry.
Okie dokie.
Santa Baby or Silver Bells.
Silver bells. Oh, freaking Santa Baby. It's way overplayed.
Ugh.
Like I hear that way too much. When Silver Bells comes on, it's almost like a treat because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this one doesn't get played quite so much. Yeah.
True.
Same.
I don't mind Santa Baby. I
Yeah.
like it. I'm
OG
gonna go with that.
Santa Baby, like
Yeah.
Eartha Kitt Santa
Yes.
Oh,
Baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eartha Kitt also could have played a role in this.
Yes.
Yeah, she was brought up at least half a dozen times.
multiple times.
I pulled her up on Spotify and played C'est si bon.
Oh, perfect.
When they
Danced
danced
to
along,
it.
I was like, oh my God, I haven't heard that song in forever.
Forever.
So yeah.
Green Satin.
Oh, wait, you didn't answer.
Oh, I agreed with you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I said it before Christina. That's sorry.
We were just loving on Silver Bells. I'm a fan of both.
Silver Bells, yeah.
Green Satin or Red Velvet.
Red Velvet.
Yeah, red velvet all day. I look great in red. I'm not a fan of green.
You
And I
look
love
really
the
good in
touch.
green.
I like the dress that was described at the end with like a holiday dress, green satin circle skirt, is cute. I'm gonna go green satin.
Okay, cool.
Don't want to sweat.
That's true.
You can
That
sweat
is
in
true.
velvet.
Yeah. Scrooge or the Grinch.
Scrooge.
Scrooge.
I
Grinch.
hate the Grinch.
Grinch.
You hate the Grinch?
I am going to hot take it right now, and everybody's going to be angry at me, but I am not a Dr. Seuss fan at all across the board.
Wow.
I know.
I think we
I
should just
know.
move. I think we should just move
I'm
on.
more Shel Silverstein,
That-
actually.
shut- you were stop reading my
Why
fucking
do
mind
you
right
have
now.
to choose? Like they're both great.
Okay, Shel Silverstein or Dr. Seuss.
But,
Shel Silverstein all day.
I don't. That's not a titter chat. I'm not doing that.
Horton Hears a Who is a great freaking book. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
very
you got
cute.
the Lorax. Come on.
What's the turtle one?
I just think Yertle the turtle.
Yertle
Is that
the-
who
yeah,
it
it's
is?
Yertle
I think
the
that
turtle.
is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Got it. It's, when they rhyme, it's like it's much easier to remember. But that could have been any other turtle for all I know. So-
I was obsessed with the Grinch, the animated movie. It was my favorite.
that one was
when I was a
cute.
kid.
It was
Yeah.
only like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's short.
too.
I liked Rudolph the
Yes.
the like
When his nose lights up.
Which
like,
upon
"Oh,
rewatch
dentist?
is
What?"
fucked up. Like when
really
you rewatch Rudolph, you're like, Jesus Christ. Like
Is that the one with the elf that wants to be a dentist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Herbie.
Herbie. Yeah. Okay, well, the last thing we've got is to do our first day of Boobsmas giveaway.
Yay!
Woohoo! So we've got a holiday treat to give away to one of our awesome listeners. And for today's giveaway, we asked both Twitter and Facebook users to share their best and or worst holiday. So before I share some of our favorite answers, I wanted to pose this question to you ladies and see if you had a best and or worst holiday story to share.
Oh, jeez.
Well, my ex-boyfriend took me home for Thanksgiving one year, and it wasn't awful. We went to Texas.
It's always a good start.
No, I mean, it wasn't awful. I just think I was really young and I had like
Awkward.
been away. It was the first year that I was ever away from my family for like a major holiday. And so it was awkward. He wanted us to shower together. It was at his
Oh.
grandparents' house. It was like, it was just uncomfortable. It was just super uncomfortable. So, I mean, that was probably my worst one. It's not very exciting.
Yeah.
That sums it up, though. Pretty nice and tidy.
I had a good one last year, right around the holidays. Handyman came over, and we didn't do anything that wasn't like X-rated. So that was it was really nice to spend a day doing just that. So that was a nice one. But other than that, I don't really have any Christmas or Thanksgiving dates.
You.
Yeah, I did.
That
He
was
got
so
me a
nice.
little tree.
That's right.
That's cute. I like that.
I can. There's nothing I can think of. I've been married too long to think about. Nothing's coming to mind. Nothing's sticking out. I'll probably think of it later, like in the middle of my sleep, and wake up sweating.
No, our group date to Vegas was
fucking
that was
best.
the best.
Yeah. That was the best date.
Yeah. So we've had some good ones.
Well, we had a few shares and we had a few, I don't want to say a few. We had one positive response and a few less positive holidays. So Happily Ever Aftermath submitted, a few years ago, my husband took me downtown to see the huge decorated tree and all the twinkling lights on the buildings. It was really late and the streets were deserted, so it was so peaceful and magical. We do it every year now.
Oh, that's sweet.
Love that.
Precious. Fuck Depression, which is another podcast.
Amazing.
Love the title. Submitted my ex-husband's proposal. We went to the mall, picked up the ring, and he just handed it to me when we got back into the car. Why did I marry him?
Oh,
Wow,
sweetheart.
that sounds like my proposal.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is so funny. To be fair, I'm still married to that bad proposal, and I love him, and honestly, I did go with him to pick out the ring because I'm super snobby like that.
Oh, yeah,
and
I would
wanted
be
to know
too.
exactly what I got, mostly because I do hair, and I had been doing hair at the time, and I wanted specifically something that I knew it wouldn't get caught in hair, I could wear if I was working, and I didn't want to have to take it off, et cetera, et cetera. At any rate, when it first came, it was completely wrong and it was fucked up. And Chris was like, dude, this is not what you asked for. And he showed it to me. And he was like, I know this isn't right. So it was more like that. Got it back, got it right. They had delivered it to him at his work. He came home that night from work, which was really late because he was working in shadow, and wakes me up. And I'm like wakes me up out of bed and is like, here. Yeah, basically.
No, but that's sweet, actually.
So
I think that's cute, actually.
I like that. Well, and you're still together.
That's much better than the car proposal, honestly.
Yeah, that sounds sullen
This
and
one
unpleasant.
leaves me with all sorts of questions. Death by Champagne submitted, my boyfriend showed up to family Christmas last year 3 hours late and visibly hungover with a black eye.
Oh no.
Wait,
You should just stay home, sir.
I want some follow-up.
Absolutely no pumpkin pie for you.
Well, and one of the My Worst Date followers, Caitlin Flopkins,
I love Caitlin.
she submitted via the My Worst Date Facebook group, which if you're not a part of,
Please
you should
join. So
join
fun.
immediately. It's the best memes, best stories ever.
We like a good meme.
Does one of you want to read Caitlin's story since you're, pals?
Okay, so she says, my partner took me skiing for the first time in my life around the holidays. That's
Already
bad.
chills.
We've had discussions around ski trips in general. If you don't know how to ski, it's not the time for something romantic. I
also
don't think.
don't respond well to people trying to teach me things that I've never done.
That's Christina's least favorite thing of all time.
Nope.
Yeah. Do not tell me what to do.
Exactly.
Ever. Should get that tattooed somewhere. What? And she says, what you should know about me is that I'm clumsy in the best of times. Strapping 2 sticks to my feet and pushing me down a mountain doesn't make it any better. Same.
Yeah.
2 practice runs down a bunny slope, and my partner determined I was ready to go down an actual mountain.
That's false, sir.
Sir,
That is very false.
I think he was actually trying to kill you. I think that this was a crazy in love situation. I don't know the designations of these things, but it was the next one up, supposedly. Looked pretty damn big when I was at the top. I start hurtling down the mountain at breakneck speed,
Jesus,
not
so
at all
scary.
in control. I decided I must stop or I was going to kill myself when I got to the bottom and flew into the ski lodge like a missile.
Kool-Aid Man's inside. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I tucked and rolled. I forgot that skis were tied to my feet and didn't take them into account when I did this. Wrenched my leg out of the socket. Oh, ski patrol came and got me, and I had to be toted down the mountain in that neon orange toboggan hitched to the back of a teenager.
Winning.
No.
Yes.
I did not have fun, and I had a bruise the size of California on my ass down to my thigh. Fuck skiing.
Dude,
girl.
I did the same thing. One Valentine's Day, I decided to surprise my ex because he was really into snowboarding. I've never been snowboarding. In fact, I make it a rule not to put myself on things that propel me faster than I can go naturally. As I share,
That's a good rule.
I share Caitlin's clumsiness, and that's the reason why I've never broken a bone. However, this is the one time that I have neglected to follow that advice. And not that there are many mountains in Ohio, but the biggest hill that they got, I went and tried to snowboard off of that, and it was the worst. It was
Snowboarding seems even worse than skiing because you don't have those sticks
awful.
to try and like stop
Help.
you.
Yeah,
you know what I
yes.
mean? Like,
I was so sore the next day. I fell so many times. I concussed myself. Certainly.
Oh my God.
It was the worst.
awful. No,
I
thank
hate it.
you.
Well, I think we got to give it to Caitlin Hopkins.
Yeah,
Flopkins.
Flopkins. Yeah.
Flopkins. What a name. I love that.
Caitlin Flopkins.
Yeah, I want to be Mrs. Caitlin Flopkins. Caitlin Flopkins, I think you submitted a wonderful story, and you are well deserving of this giveaway.
I want to know
prize.
if they're still going out.
Yeah, right.
Like, I'd be like, we're breaking up on that toboggan while I'm being taken. We're breaking up right now.
That was the same about the one with the boyfriend who showed up late with the black eye. I'm like, now is this an ex-boyfriend, or are we
Man,
still
that's
going
a pretty
strong?
good one too. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. So thank you to everyone who submitted stories, and obviously, you can submit more to My Worst Dates.
Please do.
They
Yes.
will gladly accept them on your behalf. Okay. Well, that's just about all we've got for you guys. So thank you so much for listening. And obviously, My Worst Date, thank you for joining me.
Cheers.
Thank you for having us.
Where can everybody find you on the socials and the listening and all that jazz?
You can go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com. It's got links to our socials. You can listen. It's got our Patreon and merch. It's got everything. So.
Yeah. I got to get me some of my My Worst Date merch for the holidays. For sure.
Well, you got your Boobies merch up now too.
I
I know.
do.
We got to
Yeah.
get Boobies.
Everybody's got to
merch.
load up on the podcast merch for the holidays.
That's right.
And without further delay, on the first day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me
A hot hookup under the tree.
Merry Boobsmas, everybody. Play us out, Cooper.
On the first day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me a hot hookup underneath the tree.
Thanks so much for listening. Boobies and Noobies is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.